sense because it was something really freaky and out of the box, and not a lot of people are using, you know, Spanish vocals. Try just, you know, to get a different element, because sometimes we tend to use vocals from sample tracks and stuff like that. I was trying to avoid a little bit of that element. So it all started from there. I did a short idea, sent it to him. He added a lot of synths, a lot of work was done, and you know, I'm quite happy with the end result. So I'll show you guys how we started it. It's really, you know, I want just to show you, like, although this is a 138 channel track, which is a little bit, you know, for the usual, it's still a very simple track. There's no like secret stuff around here, you know. This is pretty much the standard of production, you know. The thing is the details that we use here, and also the concept, the idea. So what I want you to understand is when you make a track, when you have an idea, that's the power of it. It's the idea itself. You can be the most technical producer in the world. You can know everything, every plugin, every technique, but if the main idea is not good, it's not worth it. So, and we have examples of hits in the past that were not like the most epic productions ever in terms of you know, sound design, of uniqueness, but the idea was amazing, so it was a hit. And, you know, that's the most important aspect of a song, an idea, is for me, you know, personally. So we'll start real quick, and then let me know. You can interrupt me anytime if you have one question. Just pick me up and, you know, ask anything you want. So we start really simple. I had to bounce the kick because what I do normally is I work in my studio, and this Logic is still a little bit, Logic 9 is still a little bit primitive in what concerns to changing the key of a wave file. So I have to use Melodyne. It's a little bit painful to change it because you have to record the whole thing, you know, the wave file, and then change it inside Melodyne. And when you transport the project to another computer, it's not going to recognize you know, the details that you changed, the waveform that you changed on Melodyne. So what I had to do is I bounced the kick that we use on the track. Here it is. So I cannot really show you what was done before, but basically this is a 3-layer kick, you know, very basic stuff. You know, the low end, it goes, as always, I think the peak is around 50K, which is pretty normal. And we use the mid kick to give it the mid range, and the top kick to give it the high. You know, it's basic stuff here, nothing fancy. So what I'm using right here is just a regular compressor. It's actually doing, when a kick hits, it's actually doing about 2 dB compressing in here. So nothing fancy. And I know maybe some of you guys are, I believe, experienced producers, so most of you will know that basically what we're doing here with the compressor is we're taming the sound. We're leveling it up. Compressor is not going to make your sound louder. That's why we have the makeup gain right here. That sometimes will give you the impression that the sound is actually louder, but it's just the impression, because what you're doing is you're taming, you're leveling everything up. So inside your mix, it's not going to go up and down like crazy. So you have everything settled, you have everything controlled. So that's really important. No short attack, short release here. So we're good. And I'm just going to play this. Basically, the kick is just you know, low cut frequency right here. So nothing fast. Then you go to the kick part. As I told you, it has a pretty tight low end, and the mid zone here is also very present. And actually, what I use here, and sometimes you can use that also. Instead of using, sometimes people use like a snare to use like a top kick, you know, something to give it that height. And what I used here was like a tambourine, like a kind of sound, you know, to give it that presence on the top. So that's something that you can also use to get a little bit of presence in your kick drum. If it's too low, you just give it that pop with a tambourine. Something metallic would be good. So it's something, you know, you could also try. Then right here we have the percussion. So I always do like groups in Logic. So I group everything up. This is very simple stuff, but it gives it it fills up space when you're looping stuff. So these small details is why actually I have so many, so many channels. We had to use so many channels because of this, because of all the details. So basically, when that details out, I'll show you that. This Vocalist Nexus plugin, it's very simple stuff we're using here also. So, which is sidechain. In Logic, I don't know if you guys use Logic, but this is a pretty aggressive circuit type here. It's VCA. You have Platinum, Cats, AR, PET, Octo. You have a lot of options in Logic. The thing is, this kind of circuit type right here, I feel like it gives some kind of warmth to the sound, different than the other ones, but it's also pretty aggressive. So you always notice like a click when you're doing the sidechain. You're not going to be able to notice at first. It's like doing the four bar beat in a small click, but you cannot really notice it by ear. But in the mix down, it's going to take up some space. So maybe when you use this kind of circuit, you have to know in the end it's going to occupy some space in the mix down. So you have to come back. So very simple stuff right here. And then what we have in this second part. So very basic stuff. This is a loop that Robert suggested that we use, like some kind of bubbling Latin loop. So we're using this. Very simple stuff, Keep in mind this actually is a group that I use in Logic just to group things up to be organized. I programmed this to be Command F in my computer. I don't know. I really don't use this my laptop to produce a lot because when we're traveling, when we're touring, I really prefer to go to a big studio or some kind of space. This would be enough, but to produce on a laptop in a plane to have great ideas, I believe that's not the right place, at least for me. But of course, you can do small ideas like bootlegs and stuff. But each person is each person, so but it doesn't really fit for me. So then again, we use a couple of snares here just to build some tension. So we use also the sound shifter. I don't know if you probably know this plugin from Waves. For me, it's still the best plugin to do pitch variations on wave files, but it has quite a few problems. It's going to change the color of your sound. It's gonna ruin a little bit the sound, but it's still better than the stock one that Logic brings. So keep using it. And it's also has another problem because although it's a small plugin and it's a small feature that you're trying to make here, just pitching something up. It's nothing fancy. But what happens is it takes a lot of CPU. I don't know why, because it's such a simple plugin. But if you use like 5 or 6, it's going to take a lot of space on your CPU. So be wise using that if you don't have like a fast computer. So we go to this part of the track where is the breakdown where it begins. We have the stock. Can I? If I touch here, is the room sound here? Okay, yeah. So this is just a basic cellos from Logic. Play this like kind of tension melody, leading to the big chords that we're going to use. Really simple stuff. We're also using here this chorus, really simple. These notes here. We're actually using Nexus here. It's low pass, so it's not really working here at the low pass, but it will work with automation. So to filter things up, so what comes next is more powerful. And we have also this. This is all about building tension to the big chords that come in, to the big thing. So yeah. We also got the claps here. This is very good for live performance. So. The mouse is without battery, no problem. So, yeah. So we're using this claps right here. Using the Logic stock reverb. I use this a lot. It does a job for me. It's nothing really fancy. So, but it always does the job and doesn't occupy too much CPU or memory on your laptop. So it's good. So so we have the big breakdown melody here. What we're using basically is this melody. This is the main melody for the break. What he's doing is something really curious. It's like we're using, of course, the sausage fatter. I can play you everything without it. So what I'm using here is wow. With a kind of a flanger to it, which also for me, what it did here is tame the sound a little bit, and the overdrive with a bright drive on it, it crisps the sound. It gives it a more kind of aggressive feeling to the sound itself. Otherwise, it would sound too stock, to nothing interesting. So this is the first layer. And actually, what I'm using here, and for me, this is the big secret of this melody right here. Is I'm going to show you real quick. This one. This is Nexus. You all know this sound right here. It's very simple. Everybody's has used it, but the thing is, since I stacked everything, it sounded a little bit different from the stock sound we had. So I believe we have some kind of plugins that are not really working. I don't know why, but and then we have just a simple bass with Spire. I use Spire a lot, especially when for these bass sounds. Even when you want to make something more aggressive, more electro, I use Spire and Serum a lot from I believe Deadmau5's friend Steve Duda that does it. I don't remember the company. X-Fair Records. So they do a lot of good plugins, and but here I use the Spire for the bass. For the bass line, really simple stuff. This is only playing one chord right here, just to create tension again. So then we go to the build-up. Also, what we decided to use here, just to create, this is something really simple, but it can create like a stadium effect when you're playing these kind of big tracks. It's just this crowd effect from Vengeance. So all together, it fills everything up. Right here in the build-up, we're using just some risers here, simple stuff with a pitch bend on Logic. really simple stuff. We're using this one also. So the same thing right here. And we got the snares, the same snares that we used in the beginning, just to create some tension also. We have them again. So, and also what I did when we agreed on what the drop sound would be, what we did is we just made a bounce of the whole drop right here, and we low passed it, and it's growing. So that way, when you're listening to the first time and you don't know the track, your brain is like receiving information, okay, something in this kind of sound is coming up. So it's not like a total surprise when you hear it. You have some kind of, premonition that this kind of sound is coming up. So really slowly, the drop comes, the drop sound comes with everything else. So just really simple again. I just bounced them, use the low pass for logic, and the reverb to get it, really big, so you don't really, otherwise it would be like this. Nothing interesting, really. So yeah, small things, but really effective, Actually, we divided the drop into, the first version was actually the whole 30 seconds of the drop were with this main sound, but then we thought, well, maybe let's make like a second part of the drop so it's not the same sound repeating over and over and over again. So yeah, I'll show you that in a minute. And first I'm going to show you the drop itself, the drop sound. Thing about this is, there's like this synth right here. There's something like a pitch bend effect, but when you hear it for the first time, and if I don't tell you it's like the pitch bend doing this, you're not gonna recognize what's doing like this kind of rolling effect in the vocal, So if I take this off, for instance, I'll let you hear again with the effect. So it keeps it interesting, and I think it's the secret why it's like, it gives that jungle freaky kind of sound to it. If I take it off, it just sounds flat. So this is like, I always do this in all my tracks right now, since this one. It creates some kind of vibe that's not in every track right out there, and it gives it that extra touch to it. And it's simply what we did right here was in the pitch bend, we do the value just +2, so it's not something really extreme. And actually on my keyboard, I just messed with my hands, so I just did it freestyle, And if you want to get it perfect, you go, of course, with your mouse, and you try to, change settings around. But if you guys try it, you're gonna notice, from being something really flat, to something really bouncy, and gives it that extra freaky kind of vibe to it, and a rabbit, something like that. So again, I'm gonna show you, of course, the track, this synth without the plugins on, so you can notice the difference. So, I use this pretty much in every synth. And what it does, it gives it that high end, because I'm putting it in a very high end kind of spectrum in the EQ, the tone here, so it affects the high frequency most. And I feel this works almost as an exciter kind of saturation distortion. So it's going to distort the sound a little bit, but it's going to give it some color and some high end also. And this kind of details all together, it's going to make a big difference in the end. So as I told you at the beginning, it's always about the idea and the small details for me personally. So this is the first layer. So, and my concern is, as I'm making the track, I'm always thinking, this has got to sound good on the dance floor, because I mainly do tracks for the dance floor, and they got to be hard, you got to feel it, you know? So the secret about that is, of course, to have your sound in the center. So if you use a lot of reverbs, if you use a lot of wideness, you're going to lose that punch, you know? So what happens is, as this track, as other tracks, and you want to play on the dance floor, you have to use some reverb too, so it's not too dry. And you get lost with it, and when you play it, it doesn't hit you. So what I did here to control that is I made another bounce from the sound that you hear in the drop, and I reverb the shit out of it. So this is what happens. Very simple. Again, the same sound. So then I mix it with this.
Reverb
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost
nothing? Okay.
It's just something, it's there,
Yeah.
but it's like a very closed environment.
Yeah.
Reverb, not a big room, it's a very small room. And then I just bounce the exact sound, duplicate it, it's a wave file right here, and I just put a big reverb to it, and I try to mix the sound. The principle, although being different, don't get me wrong, but although being a little bit different, the principle is almost the same as parallel compression.
Okay.
What you do with parallel compression, this is not compression at this example, but just to show you something a little bit similar. Parallel compression, and I can show you right here. This is all my buses right here, from the synths, from the drums, reverbs, other synths. Let's say example, drums. I have another channel of drums, which is playing the exact same sound as my main buzz drums. What I did is, everything that's playing, kick drum, snares, all the percussive elements are playing in these drums, okay? This is number 2. So I route everything from this bus 2 to the drums code. And what you do, this, keep in mind, this, the first one doesn't have any compressors on it, so the sound is clean. It's not affected by any way. So what you do in the second part is you gotta compress it really hard. So you see here, it's like, and just take the other side off so I can show you. So you see here, this is heavily compressed. It's not even breathing. You see? Can you hear it? If you compare it to the dry signal, it's close, right? But this one is really compressed, really hard. So what you do, parallel compression, is basically you're going to compress the shit out of this one, the one that's copying the signal with the first one, and you're going to mix the signal in between both. So you're going to put a little bit, mainly when it's dry, and a little bit of the over-compressed one. You know, but don't worry, it's not going to sound shitty because of that, because you're leveling it up. What happens, it gives you some kind of warmth to the sound, okay? So you're mixing it in, it gives you a warmth effect. And then again, you're not actually ruining your dry signal, your main snares, the sound is not being ruined. So you're just adding a little bit of signal of over-compressed drums. So in the end, it will create more fatness to it. You can use this kind of compression to every track. Doesn't matter the genre, doesn't matter what kind of music you're making. And I'm using this technique for I believe 5 years right now of the 8 that I'm producing, and it's an essential key for me. And I do this with you can do it with drums, you can do it with synths. You can actually do it with vocals, but I wouldn't recommend it because vocals are a little bit too you cannot go too extreme in terms of compressing. So I wouldn't advise that, but as for drums and as for synths, you can go crazy with it, and you just have to mix the signal. So you have this tri signal. It's not only volume, you know. Keep this in mind. It gives you fatness, because this is. You can do this with the body compressor. It's compressing like 20 dB. So this is, you don't do this. You know, you never compress something up to 5 dB. So it's too much. I mainly compress like 3 dBs, 2 dBs at max. So this is compressing like 20 dBs. It's too harsh. But then again, you're gonna mix it with the trucks. So this was just a little detail. But in the end, if you keep your things organized like this, in the mix down part, you can just mix it right here. There's no problem. You know, you just have your volumes, the structure of the track, and then in the end, you come here and you mix everything up. Then again, because everything is controlled, synths are going to go in here, your drums are going to go in here, your other synths, your vocals if you have them, you know, so everything is in place, and it's going to be easier for you to mix, especially if you have a project of like almost 140 channels. So if you go mixing everything, it's going to take you a lot of time, and this will save you time, and it will keep you more organized. So just a small detail about this. So about the drum, not finished. We have a couple more sounds that are just filling frequencies. It's not really audible when you hear the track, but you have this thing right here. The sound actually, if you hear alone, it's not really cool. This sounds kind of cheap, you know. But this, what it does, is just to fill some frequencies that the main sound that I'm using, it was not reaching. So I stacked everything up with this and this one also. Really crappy, you know? It sounds really crappy, I know that, but still, everything together. Okay, so we have that covered, and what I'm going to show you guys also is some small details that we have here. This is some stock mixes, just really simple stuff, just to put on the bridge to the next part of the drop. And then again, we have the second part. That I was talking about earlier, just keeps present all around. This is just a so small detail, but it gives a little bit of presence. And sometimes people just use like a snare or some kind of other kind of sample. And this actually is not going to take a lot of space in your mix because it's like basically a high kind of sound. Just cut the frequencies. I was too harsh cutting the frequencies, but I wanted to make sure, nothing bass related, even, the mid bass, because it's 200 hertz, which covers almost the mid-low part of the track. So I made sure, and also I made a little dip here on 10Ks, so it was not too harsh. Yeah, and the second part, we have another synth that's not working. And this. Some of you may recognize this synth from King Kong, the track that I made with Tony Jr. So Hardwell did ask me if he made like this second part that this. I'm going to show you the sound. Use this sound. Do you think this is, is strong enough? I said, let's add another layer, and I added this, which is more of a distorted, aggressive sound. So we managed to fill it up, and I used this also in King Kong. It's, you can recognize it maybe from King Kong, and it's basically serum. We changed the wave tables right here, the filters. and a little bit we messed with the oscillators. And the track, the main, it's called, I can tell you, it's called LD Recall, is the preset from Vandalism, which is a company that I normally use their presets, but I also, of course, I change it a lot because as I get information, you guys get information, everybody gets the information at the same time, and you have to be fast, you have to be unique, so you have always to do some sound design and some processing later. And what I'm doing right here is using the overdrive again. This is something I use almost in every channel. Try not to use it too much because it has a bit of distortion to it. And then the Space Designer, which is a very, very cool and a complex reverb from Logic, which basically what I'm doing here is